Hey free-to-play gang, welcome back to another video. So I want to talk about a few things about where the game is currently at right now and what are the issues and what are some of my opinions pertaining to those issues and how we can actually fix some of those issues as well. So this video would be the state of Dislyte right now. Now obviously I'm not going to talk too much about like the new player experience and all that. That is beyond saving right now. But okay, honestly it's not that bad. But I'm going to start off this video talking a little bit about the Ling Nerf update. And then moving on, I'm going to talk about some other things as well. So there's a total of 6 different topics that I want to discuss really quickly, right? So the first topic is going to be the Ling Nerf. So there is absolutely no common sense at all that Ling was nerfed. There is no reason why he needed to be nerfed. Or rather, on the other hand, it might have been a smarter idea to buff Tangxuan and at the same time maybe bring down some of the other Espers that we talked about in the previous video, which is like something like Gaius, JJ, something like that, right? And then on top of that, there is also no content in the coming update. There is like absolutely nothing besides the 16-player PvP content. So here is why I believe that this is the case. So let's check it out, right? So number one, there is possibly a resource saving month due to December where we can get some really big updates. Because do take note that as we approach the winter period, we will be getting some stuff. So some of the main content would be Shade Mother, for example. And that is our second point here. Okay, so Shade Mother, they might possibly introduce a Shade Mother based Esper with HP scaling damage, and that's probably why they decided to push Ling down and remove his HP scaling true damage factor. That could be a possibility, and if that is the case, that is not a really good thing. But the other way to think about it is maybe the Ling nerf was actually not a nerf. So this could possibly be one way that they wanted to fit Ling as the free-to-play damage dealer, because maybe the Shade Mother would not allow HP scaling damage, for example. If that is the case, then this would absolutely be a buff for Ling in this particular content. But obviously this is just my guesswork right now. I do not know whether this is exactly how it's supposed to be, but I do feel like just because of how brain dead the nerf is, there must be a reason behind it. Anyway, regardless, for the next 3 weeks, yes, it's going to be a little bit more boring, but at the same time, this is where you can consolidate all of your resources. Just stockpile as much as you can, because we have had a couple of summoning sessions previously. We had the Echo Tribute, we had the Rookie Echo event as well. So this is the best time for you to start saving resources. And at the same time, you can catch up with like your relic grinds, with your booststone farming, all that, right? Just farming for Everett, leveling up Espers and all that. So this would be a great place to finally take a rest. Now let's move on to point number 2, right? So this is the missing weekend boost. So I keep hearing this from a lot of you guys. So we were supposed to receive more boost freebies through events, but we have not had anyone just yet. Well, at least not from my memory. So I think like the first 3 months of this, like we were getting weekend events. So every single weekend we would have like a 2 times EXP event. We had like 2 times gold event. We had a 1.5 times relic drop event. We even had 2 times essential materials drop event as well. So every single weekend it was something different, something new, right? But when they took it away, they told us that they are going to replenish that by giving us some extra boost items to use, but that is still not the case, right? So I'm actually very unsure of what the future holds. I'm not sure whether would they actually reintroduce those again. So this I cannot say. But at the same time, this got me thinking, right? What about the rewind events? What about mystery traders? Did it mention somewhere, I think it was a patch note or something, that they were going to introduce more free-to-play way to get more of these free resonances? Oh, I remember it was like in some apology letter or something like that. But they did mention that we were going to get more free-to-play resonance, and I don't see it happening at all, apart from the one time that it happened. So this is quite unfortunate, and I cannot comment on this. I do not know what they're going to do about it. I just hope that they know exactly what they're doing, because people are expecting a lot of things. People are expecting the rewind event. People are also expecting the free resonances. Now moving on to point 3, so PvE content is getting a major difficulty spike, or rather it has already received a massive difficulty spike. So number 1, Infinity Tower, right? It is nigh impossible to get 60 stars. Even in global server where the biggest whales are at right now, from my understanding there is only a 59 star max. No one has actually achieved 60 stars just yet. And then about a couple of months ago, Apep got a buff/fix which made him incredibly tough. His defense went off the charts. So he's possibly the toughest ritual boss right now. And then obviously there is like the JJ Hyde, Una's boss rinse and repeat in the Temporal Tower, and the Infinity Tower as well. So it's kind of boring because it's just going to be the same few bosses all the time. I mean, honestly, they could do something a little bit better, right? They could introduce maybe Alice as a boss, maybe even Abigail as a boss, who knows, right? There is a lot of different ways that you can build around the kind of Espers that we have right now. So this is honestly quite dry for the tower content. But the thing is, the Infinity Tower's best rewards are currently at the 54 star limit. So if you do achieve 60 stars, that is good for you. You're going to get a free 4 star Esper. But the best rewards are still going to be parked at 54, which is your legendary Abilimon. But is that still necessarily obtainable for most of you guys? Probably not. Another reason why I feel like they made things a lot more difficult for PvE is not that they're trying to make it more pay to win. I mean, obviously if you pay, you're gonna win earlier, but at the same time, free-to-play players are still gonna be able to catch up eventually, right? So I guess what they're trying to do is to delay the endgame process. But obviously you can also argue that they're just gonna keep increasing the difficulty and free-to-play players are just never ever gonna catch up, which kinda sucks, I can't understand, but it is still going to give you a constant goal as you progress in the game. And then don't forget that Shade Mother is going to come soon, and she is going to drop Mythic Boost Stones, which are the red colored boost stones. We do not have them just yet, and these are so powerful that they increase your stats by up to 12%, like for example attack percentage, and even up to 9 speed. So you think about it, if you have a level 1 stat at 4% attack, this is instantly going to push it to 16%. So I feel like this massive power creep over here, or rather it's not really a power creep, it's more like a content power creep, is going to allow you to achieve the stats that is going to be required to beat Infinity Tower, for example, or maybe to even deal with APAP a little bit easier as well. So I think this is the direction that they are trying to achieve right now. They are trying to focus more towards pushing endgame content by asking you to beat different content and then compile your stats like that. So they want you to beat Shade Mother to collect some Mythic Boost Stones, at the same time they want you to collect some relics, and then back and forth until you're able to clear content like the Infinity Tower. Another thing that I think could be really helpful for where we are right now is just more content-specific relic loadout. So for example, we have the Dark Star Lord and we have the Desolate Lands, and at the same time we also have Temporal Tower and just other PvE content like maybe fodder farming and all that. We need a whole bunch of different relic sets on all of our Espers all the time. It's not very meaningful to keep switching it around all the time, right? So I do feel like we might need more content-specific relic loadout. So for example, for Dark Star Lord, just give us one set of relics that we can use for the Dark Star Lord content, and then for Desolate Lands, because things need to be extremely speed tuned, which means that you probably suck at some other content, your speed tuning might fail in some other content. So I do feel like extra relic loadouts is going to help a lot. Now next, point number 4, this is something that is quite close to home, right? Esper Balancing. So Gaia's JJ height, blah 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 blah, there's a lot. Ophelia is also one of them, are generally instant win conditions. But this is not a problem if you're talking about PvE content. That is great, right? That forces players to spend to get an Esper that they need in order to clear content. I think that's fine. But the problem is if it is abused in PvP. So the thing is, right now in, let's say, RTA or even Holo Battle, if you face a JJ, chances are you're going to lose, right? There's probably like a 70 to 80% chance that you're going to lose. If you're up against a Gaius, the only way that you can beat him is to either outspeed the Gaius team or you bring your height, which is obviously one of the other Espers that are incredibly OP right now, or rather at least OP in RTA. And then next, buffing Espers is usually more preferred than nerfs. And this is true for all games, right? No one really likes to see nerfs, especially the Esper is widely used, like Ling, for example. Ling is used in almost everyone's account for whatever reason, right? Could either be for fodder farming, could be for Shadowfire, could be for PvP like me, could be even Temporal Tower content, right? So people do not like to see nerfs, they prefer to see buffs. So for example, Espers like Arcana, Espers like Tangshan, for example, some of you might disagree, but these are the Espers who need a buff, they do not need a nerf. So there is a huge problem when you introduce broken Espers like for example Gaius or for example JJ, and if you're eventually going to nerf them like how you nerfed Clara, then that is going to be a problem in the future. But I think the Clara nerf wasn't such a big deal because people kind of like agreed that she's a little bit too broken, and people did not have easy access to Clara because there were no SSM banner, there were no rate up banner at all in the global server. It was only possible in the beta server. So it wasn't really that much of a problem because not a lot of people had Clara in the first place. And then let me talk a little bit more about why this Esper Balancing is an issue, because it affects PvP. So the reason why PvP is not attractive in this game, right? PvP is a big deal in other games, but not this game, is because number 1, it is pay to win, but this is expected. As long as there is PvP content, the game is automatically pay to win, or rather that content is automatically pay to win. Whoever has the money is able to get more relics and they're able to farm faster, get more levels, etc. And number 2, obviously the win condition Espers. If you have a Gaius, you're most likely going to be able to cleave a lot of different teams. If you have a height, you're going to be able to handle a lot of speed cleaves, blah blah blah. And then number 3, matchmaking issues in Holo Battles and RT as well. This is still existing. My club is still facing some really low level clubs now and then, right? I don't really understand why this is the case. And then number 4, the speed meta, obviously. And then number 5, this is something that I agree with. I'm not sure whether you agree with it. So the thing is, there are points for winning, but there is punishment for losing, and this is so frustrating, right? So imagine if you're in a stressful situation, you're in PvP, not only are you stressed out, but if you lose, you're gonna be furious, or at least that's true for me. So I think a more healthy way to do PvP is to have points for winning, but you don't really lose anything for losing. So you're not punished for losing, so to speak. So I think this is something that they can consider if they want to make PvP a little bit more friendly to the general public, I think. Now, point number 5, right? So the state of the game right now in terms of its replayability and its story, I think this is quite a big factor to some of you guys as well. So I want to talk about it just very briefly. So there are no extended story beyond the current 12th chapter thus far. and it has been, I think, about 6 months since global release. So after you're done with the story, you are then led to the Perpetual Relic, Boost Stones, EXP grind cycle. You're just going in between the Ritual Miracles, Desolate Lands, practice stages, yada yada yada. And obviously a big problem with the replayability is the battery killing aspect of the game. So the game eats up a lot of battery. So if you're using a mobile device, unfortunately you're going to burn your phone really quickly, so that sucks. But on the bright side, this is my assumption here, there is still the release of the Japanese mythology, which might introduce a new plot to the game. So I do feel like when this content comes around in somewhere around March or April, that is possibly when we may get an advancement in the story, because there needs to be a way to incorporate a brand new mythology into the game. So there is still hope for extra story, right? And number 2, gacha games are an infinite content cycle. This I cannot repeat enough, right? So whatever gacha games you're playing, it is always going to require you to do your dailies. It's always going to require you to do like the same few content just to farm specific materials, for example. And at the same time, I do believe that yes, Dislyte can definitely expand on content. However, there is a problem with that. So like for example, Dark Starlord, I do feel like the Dark Starlord has bad replayability. And the reason for that, it is so boring. I just press auto, let it run for 8 entire minutes, and my screen has to look at it for 8 entire minutes before I'm done with one round. And I need to do it 3 times, which means that it's like almost 30 minutes of my life gone just by letting my phone run that same content every 3 days. That sucks. I don't feel any joy out of it. And the rewards are so absolutely nothing, right? There's like some flawless relics which are usually shit. And the 2 million point requirement, or is it 3 million or whatever, that tyranny reward provides so little, right? So I don't feel like extra content is necessarily going to be a good thing. I do feel like it has its bad sides as well. And then thirdly, they have yet to introduce the battery saving function. So there is that. There is still something to look forward to. Hopefully they come up with something that allows us to just run the auto repeat and just not worry about burning our phone, for example. And then finally, right, let's talk a little bit about the gacha and Esper related content. So there is a massive influx of new Espers, but not enough Abilimon to go around. I'm sure a lot of you guys can agree, right? So from my calculation, which may be off, we get about 7 legendary Abilimons per month. But the thing is, we need about 1.5 months to 2 months just to fully skill up one single legendary. But at the same time, we are being introduced to so many different Espers every single month. So every 3 weeks, they are going to release a new Esper. But at the same time, you're probably going to pull something that you haven't pulled before. Maybe one of the Espers in the past, right? And then if you want to build that Esper, you're going to need to invest so much resources into that Esper, including legendary Abilimons, which sucks a lot, because the thing is, a lot of these Espers are unusable, absolutely unusable, unless you have skill ups on them. But then if you start investing in this Esper, you cannot invest into other Espers, which means that a lot of your legendary Espers are just not very usable until you get the material to make them useful. And this is a very bad design in my opinion. I do feel like for all games, all gacha games, if you need to invest like 2 months just to make your Esper usable, that is an incredibly bad design. So one way that I think the game can go around this is to just remove that cooldown reduction in the skill up itself. Which means that when you get a brand new Esper, he is fully useful, right? His cooldowns are already maxed, so you don't have to give him skill ups in order to reduce that cooldown. So the only thing that we need to worry about is probably like maybe a little bit of proc chance and maybe like damage percentages, healing percentages, those kind of stuff, right? But for the Esper to be limited behind legendary Abilimons is just very scummy. But obviously I do understand that this makes legendary Abilimons less valuable and therefore they're gonna earn less money from this. So let's move on, talking about the raids. I don't think there's anything wrong with the raids right now because the amount of summons that we get kind of makes up for it anyway. And then thirdly, legendaries make content easy, but epics make content possible. So for example, Espers like Anasidora, Espers like Longmian, etc, right? Like Jiangman, right? Sender, all these epic Espers, they are really good and they allow you to clear content. So you don't need legendary Espers to clear content, but because of how important certain epics are, I do feel like maybe having a summon currency that stacks up to allow you to buy a choice epic might be a really good idea as well. So if you summon like 100 times, you're able to select a certain epic Esper that you want, for example. It's a great way to allow new players to decide exactly how they want to build their account in the direction that they know would suit them better. And then finally, let's talk about the time gate a little bit, alright? So it exists, okay? The time gate does exist. You can ask any of the content creators out there, whenever a new banner is released, we are always getting the same few Espers. So there was that once where we all just kept getting Sienas, or like we just kept getting Biondina for some reason. So the time gate is definitely there, and there is a scientific reason behind it as well. But anyway, that's about it. This is like UFO stuff right now. That's it for this content. Let me know your thoughts, let me know your suggestions, anything that you would like to tell Lilith Games. Leave them down in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Now with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's content. If you like something like this, let me know as well, right? But if you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. It really helps the channel, and subscribe for more Dislyte content. Now with that said, this has been Derek Free to Play, and as always, I will see you in the next video.